as ever, every time that we have something, it's special. And I keep thinking, can I keep saying this line that tonight is a very special occasion? The answer is yes, I think we can. It's a really very, very unique and special occasion. And I think it's unique and special for a whole range of reasons. Number one is it's the first exhibition that we've had for a long time that is completely 100% resourced from our own collection. So the 44 works that you see on display here, which could have been 64 if the fact that the front gallery is not being reconstructed physically for our next exhibition we're due to Chicago, or it could have been, Sarah will tell me, but I think it's 82 works that we have from the contemporaries in total within the collection, or something thereabouts. Sarah always corrects me on the detail, but so in other words, we have within our own collection resources of some 1,300 works, we have enough works from the contemporaries to actually host a major exhibition. And this is simply a sector from a really huge exhibition, which we certainly cannot do in this space, and we don't want to do in this space. Yeah. We want to be doing it in 5,000 or 6,000 square feet of exhibition space on the École de Paris, which will involve international loans for 2016, and that will be one unbelievable exhibition. But this is a segment, and the segment is because we wanted to welcome a new member of the Ben Uri Club. She's a very pretty lady. There's so many people who have got their hands in this, who without whom we couldn't have made this work. So I want to do it very quickly in order, and then I'm going to introduce these people to you. First of all, if it wasn't for Sotheby's, we would not have known about this painting. Everybody knows Sotheby's, and everybody knows they're an auction house, and everybody knows that they're as commercial as hell, and we all hate the fact that they increase their commission to 25%, and and the dealers think that they're taking their business, and all this sort of stuff. But there are parts of Sotheby's, and I'm sure all the other institutions, that you don't know about. And one is their tax and heritage department, and the fact that they do care about museum collections. And they do actually make an effort to say, where would a picture fit? And that's how we got this. So whatever anybody else contributed, without Helen and Newman, and without the Tax and Heritage Department of Sotheby's, saying, you know what? This picture's got Ben Uri written over it. Whether they can manage it is a different ballgame. It's got their name written over it, and made the phone call, we would not be here tonight. Or we may be here tonight, but the exhibition will be missing one painting. So Helena's going to talk a little bit about that, but thank you, Sotheby's, and thank you, Helena. Thank everybody at the same time, and then we'll get everything. Then the next stage was that we had essentially three major funding institutions that we go cap in hand to, and we say, listen, we have found a major opportunity. They're the V&A Purchase Grant Fund, they're the Art Fund, and they're the Heritage Lottery Fund. And I can tell you that museums in this country would simply not be able to function in terms of improving the quality of their collections, which is ultimately what we go and see, without these three institutions. And each one of them, over the last, it's now 12 years since I've been doing this, over the last 12 years, have not in any way stinted in their support for our objectives of building a serious, internationally based, world-class collection. And we're absolutely honoured tonight to have Wesley Kerr, who is the chairman of the Heritage Lottery Fund London, with us this evening. Wesley's there. We're absolutely honoured to have Stephen Ducha, who's the director of the Art Fund, who is there. And I'm not sure, has Julia been able to come from the V&A? Is Julia here? No, I don't think she'll be able to come. And these are the people who institutionally make museums and give small museums. And we might think that we're Tate, so Nick doesn't think we're Tate, but we might think and act as if we're Tate. That's our barometer, that's our benchmarking. But we couldn't do it without these institutions. And then, of course, there is the next category of people who are our supporters, who it wouldn't matter whether the institution is supported or not. We couldn't make it work without individuals. and we're blessed with many of them tonight. And I'm sure I'm going to miss some people, but George Weiss, I'm not going to look at any because they're all embarrassing. Michael Heller, Marvin, Michael, George and Judy, Patsy and David Franks. I can give you a whole list of people from this country, from Switzerland, from America. We scoured the world for supporters for this. And in fact, 2 of the donors from America are actually coming over tomorrow. They've got the dates wrong. That's flying into London tomorrow. They thought because they saw the opening of the exhibition was starting tomorrow rather than 5 tonight. And that's the sort of support and involvement and commitment that we've got from people. So what I'm really saying to you is that we might do a lot of the work, but unless you've got partners, you can't achieve. It's all a team. And in this country, never mind Ben Uri, in this country we are absolutely blessed with institutions that support museums and with individuals that support museums, so the rest of us can actually go and simply stand in front of great pictures and just increase in height. Just be inspired by them. So that's what Ben Uri is all about. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask the 3 principal supporters of this exercise. So can I ask Stephen Duccio from the Art Fund to lead off? And because we go back a long way, Stephen was the director of Tate Britain before he took on the Art Fund. So if anybody knows about how to run a museum, Stephen does. So Stephen, please, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. I mean, it's fantastic to see. I haven't seen this picture since it was in the boardroom of the Art Fund's headquarters. We don't give grants without showing all the trustees the work of art at first hand. And I well remember seeing this in the boardroom. Long discussion about it as ever. Why did we give a grant? I think probably 3 reasons above all. I mean, firstly, it's obviously clearly a fantastically important work of art, alluring in visual terms, but art historically really very significant. Secondly, it fits into this collection absolutely perfectly. And there was huge admiration expressed by the trustees for the depth of this collection, its potential, not perhaps realised in this concise space that we're gathered in at the moment. But I think the trustees really wanted to be part of laying some of the foundations for the next phase in Ben Uri's future. And thirdly, I mean, David told them that they had to do it. And I bet I'm not the only person in this room that does what he's told by David. Not necessarily at first, but persistence. You know, in the end, we say, okay, David, you can have it. And we were really actually delighted to make this grant. One of the conditions that I told David about afterwards would be that I would get the opportunity to come to the opening and to have a sort of 2-minute commercial on behalf of the Art Fund to try and persuade you very influential and focused people of the advantages of becoming Art Fund members yourselves. We are an entirely private institution. We don't have a penny of government funding or any public funding. We are simply financed by 94,000, as of this morning, 94,000 individual members of the public who join the Art Fund, receive what we call a National Art Pass, which is a membership card which gives them discounts and free admissions to something like 600 museums now, all over the country, including this one. And you know, including, say, the Pre-Raphaelites at Tate Britain cost £7 with an art pass as opposed to 14. So you get a great deal from your pass, but you are contributing to this kind of fighting acquisitions fund, which David alluded to earlier. 95,000 people paying £5 each, paying £50 each, sorry, a year, produces a grants pot of around £5 million, and that's what we give away. And over the last 24 years, we've given away, you know, £150 million, I think, to something like 200 museums. So it's a huge ongoing commitment, financed entirely by individuals. So you've all got 50 quid, or at least go online, you know, artfund.org, and you help to support the Art Fund so we can continue to support fantastic enterprises like this and museums like this around the country. So forgive me for this unassuming commercial, but I really don't want that to obscure my real pride in being part of this incredible operation here. So really, I think congratulations to David Glasser and
I can only just support that. If you're going to support two things, you've got to support Ben Uri and the Art Fund. Wesley, would you come and just tell us a little bit about the Heritage Lottery Fund? Because everybody knows we all buy our tickets, but the amount of work that you do, particularly in our sector, is absolutely amazing. Wesley Cowley.
Well, the applause actually, of course, isn't for me. It's for the many millions of people who buy lottery tickets. And I won't do a plug for the lottery because I don't work for the lottery, but it just, the 28% of every lottery pound which goes to causes, good causes, like this amazing good cause, really has been transformational. And it's marvellous to be at an event like this. I think you have the most packed event at any art I seem to remember when Norman Rosenthal opened your amazing crucifixion exhibition. Yes. I think that the traffic stopped. And he had to address us out there, didn't he?
Yeah.
And sadly, we didn't have this in the boardroom at the Heritage Lottery Fund when we met in March and made the decision to give you £193,000, which is 61% of the cost. But so it's a moment of revelation. I think our insurance maybe doesn't cover it, so Stephen obviously has better insurance. But it's a moment of revelation to see how truly wonderful this picture is. And I think the thing always is just to be in the presence of great art is astonishing. It's the third picture which we've helped to enhance this incredible collection with. I think that there was a Mark Gertler, Rabbi Rabitzin, and Bomberg of racehorses. Yes. But it's marvellous also to see Soutine here amongst friends. So obviously he was a friend of the great Chagall and Sonia and Robert Delaunay and Lipchitz. So I mean, there's nowhere else in the country, possibly in the world, where such a marvellously themed exhibition could be put on. And all your exhibitions are just terrific, and we're so thrilled to be able to support Ben Uri. And I think it's a brilliant use of lottery cash because I knew what to be the museum for everyone. And we very much understand your ambitions to get bigger premises. but I mean, I think the Heritage Lottery Fund, in the 18 years of existence, has probably helped most of the museums and galleries in London, the public ones, which I think there are 250 altogether. But if I just think of other recent projects, I mean, tomorrow evening there's an exhibition on Constable's Hampstead opening at Berg House. We supported both the exhibition and in the past Berg House. The Wallace collection has recently represented its Rembrandt's beautiful new rehang there. You'll know that Kenwood House is being restored. In this borough alone, I think nearly 20 places of worship have been repaired and restored. Parks, gardens, historic artefacts. The churchyard at the top of Hampstead, the one in West Hampstead, there's the cemetery. I mean, just the amount of good causes supported by the lottery players is astonishing. I think we will soon get to £1 billion invested in London in heritage, whether it's community heritage, parks, great works of art, and we really are so thrilled to have been able to support Ben Uri in this incredible acquisition. I'd also just like to thank all the people who have given towards this, because it wasn't just the Art Fund and the V&A Purchase Fund and ourselves, but you've got some names there listed. Are some of the donors prepared to own up and put their hands up? Because I'm sure we'd all like to thank them. And one of a great bequest was given to London this year by somebody sitting here. Many of you will be familiar with the work of Bomberg and the Bio Group, some of which is in your collection. And Sarah Rose, who had spent her lifetime collecting those pictures, made a most wonderful bequest of 50 pictures to a new gallery at the building where many of these pictures were created, in Borough Road, at the headquarter building of the South Bank University, and it's the most marvellous. So that and you don't have them now, although I think you said you've got a Chagall still, I think. but you were not a rich collector. I know you actually sometimes had to do 2 jobs, but that's the spirit. And I think there was something very marvellous you said in your speech when that opened, which I think applies to all artists, how you empathise with the dilemma of the empty canvas which is a terrifying thing, especially if you're not well off. I don't suppose Soutine ever made vast amounts of money from his work. He had a very, very hard life. But it's marvellous to see all these full canvases in this incredible burgeoning collection, 1,300 items, you know, constantly rotating. And I know this is going to be on display now for 3 weeks.
Yes.
And then various other exhibitions, but from next year it will be permanently on display.
From next autumn. You're pulling out all my little secrets. From next autumn, we are creating one of the galleries downstairs as a permanent representative of the collection, so that people will always see some there permanent, like our friend Mr. Soutine, if he's not on loan, and then others rotating. So there's always a flavour of what you're missing by not having a larger space.
And you do marvellous educational work. You've just won a Sanford Award for your heritage education work. And all the pictures are available on your new website, and there's a special National Education Online, 25,000 schools,
yes.
And they'll be able to actually look interactively at the work, even perhaps with other countries. And there's a specific programme of learning for this picture, which is something that very, very much important for us, that people actually get close to amazing heritage, amazing works of art, and learn about them, and the great legacy of art and artifacts that we have in this city. We're so very, very lucky, I think more than any city in the world. This is the first time this has been seen in public since 1963, and it'll be on display, hopefully, in your collection forever, and passed down the generations. Many congratulations, and thanks to everybody involved.
Thank you for all Winding back right to the beginning, how it all started was that one phone call from Helen Newman. So can I introduce Helen? Helen is the chairman of Sotheby's Modern and Impressionist Paintings for Europe, and a great friend of the museum, and thank you. Helen, yes, whatever.
Hello, good evening everyone. Well, I'm absolutely delighted to be here for the unveiling of Soutine's La Soubrette. And it all really came about because the UK collectors who acquired, the family acquired it in the 30s, it's actually been in the same collection up until now, in one UK family passing down the generations. And they came to us at Sotheby's and said, can you help us sell this picture? And of course, me with my auction hat on, I thusly was dreaming of it in an auction. But then very quickly, Wendy Phillips, my colleague, where's Wendy Phillips? Wendy Phillips, who is our Director of Tax and Heritage at Sotheby's, said to me, actually, it would be in the owner's interest to sell to a UK institution because it's much more advantageous for tax. And do you know who this could be? And I have to say that immediately I thought of you, David Bass. I must have known you since the late 80s, wandering the galleries of Sotheby's. You probably came in to look at a Chagall, probably. That's where we met, in front of the Chagall, probably, in the old days. And I thought of you and called you up and you said, yes, I want to come and see it. And actually I lived with this picture on the wall in my office for many, many months while the negotiation went on. But that's how it all started, and that was really all I did. It was Wendy and Melissa who did all the work, because it's very, very complex, I have to say, all this tax stuff. All I had to do was say I thought it was a great painting in perfect view. And I'm delighted because, in fact, what we have here is the only example of a Soutine portrait in public hands in the UK, which is amazing, and you only really got it because there are very, very few Soutines in private collections in the UK, so the opportunity wouldn't normally arise, and every great museum of Jewish art needs a Soutine. And so this is really very, very lucky that everything aligned, and actually in the context of his work it's a wonderful painting to have, because although at Tate and in Scotland we have examples of Soutine's landscapes, for which is also very, very well known, I think that his portraits best evoke what he was doing. And to have an example of his portraiture studying one of his great subject matters, which were the series of portraits he did of the valet de chambre, of the pâtissier, of the hotel bellboy, in this case the maid. They're very, very much what his portraiture is all about. He came to Paris in 1913, born in a village outside Minsk. He arrived in Paris just at the time when, as we heard, Chagall Modigliani, Lipschitz, the great artists of the École de Paris were there all working together in this amazing melting pot of European culture. And he was indeed impoverished and did immerse himself in the Paris street culture of the cafes and the hotels, and that's where he found his subjects. They weren't the grand, people of Paris. They were the people working, the servants, and she's not pretty, but in a way that's the whole point. She is one of those. She's a working woman, and Soutine is all about that expression, that human expression. And here we have that brilliantly evoked with a sort of, just the way he's, the sort of semi-contorted expression of her face and the whole look of her eyes and the, slight modesty, but also the strong inward sense. It's all there, and that's what you look for in Soutine and what you hope to get in the best of his portraiture. And I'm delighted that in this wonderful example we have now here in the UK our very own Soutine. And many, many congratulations everyone, and it's wonderful to see its arrival and display to the public.
Thank you so much. It's tough standing here, all these people, but everybody's got to say something. So I'm going to ask whether you put another 3 minutes to hear Sarah McDougall just give you a little bit of scholarship on the painting itself. Is that, can you stand that? Yes? Okay. While Sarah's making her way up, I just want to tell you that we are blessed at this museum. We have two of the best curators in London. I personally think they're probably the two best curators in London, but I've got to be pragmatic and I've got to accept that there will be arguments on that. But two of the best, there's no argument. Sarah McDougall is a very special curator because she is the ever Frankfurter curatorial fellow on émigré artists. So the whole subject of émigré artists, not just to this country, but émigré artists as a milieu, is very much her speciality. So this exhibition is absolutely up her street, and of course you will see from the catalogue, which is for sale at £10, unless you are a donor to the painting, in which case it's my great pleasure. But if you weren't a donor to the painting, you will have to spend £10. But there are 40 different artists, or 20 different, how many? 20 or different artists' biographies in it, all which you won't see anywhere else apart from this catalogue. I want to just pay my homage to Sarah and her team, all of whom are today, and there's so many. We have 17 people in the museum. We were closed 12 years ago. We have 17 people. We have 7 people on the curatorial and research side. So we do it properly. So let me introduce Sarah, whose exhibition this is, whose scholarship this is, and her team, and she's just going to tell you a little bit about the picture. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for those kind words, David. And Helena has wonderfully outlined already the beginnings of why this Soutine is so important, and many of the things that we think of when we look at it. And I just want to start by saying why it's such an important acquisition to our collection. As David said, we do have many works from the École de Paris in the collection. Many of them are hidden. We would love to show them all to you, and that will come in 2016, when we will also show them alongside international loans and other members of the École de Paris who we're not able to show tonight, such as Modigliani. However, we're very happy with the Soutine we do have here, and the context of this very small show, which is really an introduction and an appetizer for the larger show which will follow, is to look at Soutine and his peers who were either born like Chagall was within Russia, or within countries within the Russian Pale of Settlement. And we've just brought them here together as a selection of artists and the work they did in all their diversity. So the subject matter covers Jewish subject matter, still lives, portraiture, landscape, book illustrators. We have evocations of the old shtetl downstairs by Hannah Kowalska. We have a wonderful work by Yankel Adler over there, I'm Nude. We have 3 delightful works by Yitzhak Frenkel-Frenel there, treating traditional Jewish ceremonies in a Cubist manner. So lots to see. But to return to our wonderful Soutine, called La Soubrette, as you've already heard, the waiting maid. It was originally sold, in fact, under a different title, Jeune Servante, young servant, and in fact the soubrette was a character that developed from operetta and is often seen as a coquettish type of character, and our maid, we feel, is very much more the young servante rather than the soubrette. Interestingly, the change of name came when the painting entered the UK first, so whether that was a misunderstanding or a wish to make the subject more exciting in 1938, we don't know. But it was painted, we think, about 1933, and it's very typical of what Soutine was doing in the early 30s. In the previous decade, as Helena mentioned, he'd done this famous series of pastry cooks, choir boys, bellboys, etc. They were often very contorted, very viscerally painted, and the positions they took up ranged between sort of awkwardness and arrogance, whereas our maid is very demure in character. She nevertheless fills the screen. Soutine chose anonymous subjects, but then what he wanted to do very much was to evoke an individual presence. And he does that partly by allowing her a strong physical presence and filling the bottom half of the screen, and then by focusing attention on her face and on this expression. She doesn't engage with us, but nevertheless she evokes our sympathy. She looks as though perhaps she's a very hard-working maid, and her expression may be somewhere between weariness and resignation. The other thing I just draw your attention to is the use of white. This is very strong in Soutine. He was very known for his virtuoso handling of white, and you can pick out 5 or 6 other colours within the white of her apron. It's very luminously painted. And one final thing that intrigues us is the little unresolved section on the upper right of the picture. We've all speculated about that today. Perhaps it's a hanging lamp, perhaps it's a vase, who knows? So all suggestions welcome. And finally, just to say, the year 1933 is also important because this was the year, of course, in which Hitler came to power and was followed by the forced emigration of many people, including many artists, across Europe. And that second wave brought then to Paris artists like Adler, who I mentioned is also included in the show. Soutine never discussed or painted pictures which directly related to his ethnicity, so it's particularly interesting that this should come from that important historical year, 1933. And the other artists that we brought here together would also be greatly affected by the war. A number of the artists featured downstairs, such as Kowalska and Epstein, were killed in the Holocaust. Other artists fled, often to New York, like Chagall, and this is his response to the news of the Holocaust in 1945. And still others escaped to south of France, where they remained until after the liberation of Paris. Some went on to other places, and others stayed and contributed to that group of work that we know from these artists called the École de Paris. So that's just a very brief introduction. Thank you very much.
So I just want to thank everybody who was involved in this picture. I have to make a special word for the lady who really worked with me, Melissa. Where's Melissa? Yeah. Melissa, who has just delivered a beautiful young addition to our family. And we're really thrilled that you're here tonight because we had many, many phone calls. And I hate to think our lines were the hotline, but together we did it and we cracked it. So everybody who had anything to do with this picture, we were in your debt. everybody else, and including, by the way, the whole of the HLF London committee who put us through our paces and made sure that we were going to make this picture work for London, which I promise you we will. Everybody else, two things: please support us, please become a friend, please become a patron, and if you happen to know of 30,000 square feet that's anywhere near a major London museum, then tell us. We were the underbidders on the design museum, so we're not without supporters. Okay, so it's not a pipe dream. So if you know of a space that is within 5 or 7 minutes walking distance of a major museum in London, let me know. Okay, because I seem to remember that you phoned me in the morning and I was in your office in the afternoon. It would be the same thing for a building. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.